Good evening, good morning, and good night. Hello, everyone, from wherever you're tuning in. And if you're tuning in on the YouTube channel, then hello to you from the past to the future. It's another Lars Lab, so you know what that means. It's time to play some Lars. Dagnabbit. Time to play some Lars. Alright. The theme of today is Going Low. We're going low. And this time there's Cam. So, hey, what's up? Camera this time. Didn't think it was too necessary, but I thought let me spice things up a bit. Let me add some camera too. Let's get some game audio going. Is that good? Anyway, you're currently listening to Never Ending, which is the Tekken 6 continue music. I always find it very chill. Nice little jam. Let me pause that. Okay, so going low. So let me get into it. So for those unfamiliar with the Lars Lab, the Lars Lab is effectively an informal like live stream slash chat with the viewers where I stream some Tekken 7 practice mode and I go over Lars tips and tricks, unique situations, unique tech, funny stuff, memes, whatever. And the first live stream, which was really long, went over a bunch of stuff. It was really exciting, but I think this stream is going to be dedicated. These subsequent streams, I should say, are dedicated to specific things, very specific, like bits of tech or bits of like just parts of his game plan. So the previous episode was about combat readiness, and that was about being ready for punishes and stuff like that in neutral, right? So that's what that was about. And for this stream, I thought let me focus on lows, because one of the things people say is, oh, there's a notification. Probably turn my ringtones off. That is a notification. Let me turn that off. So professional. Yeah, so one of the things that people say is bad about Lars's game plan, bad in quotation marks, is they say he has terrible lows. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that, like, and I know why people say it, right? Because the issue quite simply is that, hold on, sorry, I'm trying to get my own stream up, just to see. The issue is that people say that his lows are bad because they're not threatening, because you don't get like a counter hit, or you don't get like an easy standing counter hit launcher, or you don't get a ton of damage from his lows. It's interesting. We'll go into it in a minute, obviously. Okay, all looks good. All looks fine. Let's get on with it, whatever. So, I have a list of things to go through, and we'll go through them one by one. So, unlike most characters, he doesn't have like not most characters, he doesn't have like a stature kick, so he's a fake machine man. He doesn't have like a down back 4, which is where, you know, they stand up and they hit you in the leg, and if it counter hits, you get knocked down. Previously, Jin would get a combo off of it, which is ridiculous, but he just, you know, other characters like Kazuya, like Kazumi, you just get knocked down, right? And he doesn't have like any big full crouch low, and he doesn't have a typical snake edge. In fact, his snake edge is that, which isn't a normal launching snake edge. It is, of course, that is not counter hit. It is, of course, a counter hit snake edge, right? So it's not like a normal launching snake edge, fair enough. Now, that said, that doesn't mean that his lows aren't usable. I mean, I think if you heard that out of context, that Lars has bad lows, you'd think, oh, he has bad lows, I guess that's the end of it, this character sucks. No, not necessarily. His lows don't work the same way you'd think compared to other characters, but that doesn't mean that they don't work at all. So I'll go through them. The first one, the most obvious one, is down back 4. Now everybody knows about down back 4. That's his sort of fake snake edge. You've seen something like this with, like, say, like Raven and characters who have something that looks like it. Did you see that? It's like tip range. You can sort of see it sweeping through his leg, but it's not hitting him. But anyway, it doesn't normal hit launch. No matter how many times you do it, it's never going to normal hit launch. I mean, to be fair, it's too fast for a normal hit snake edge. That would be insane. Can you imagine Lars' snake edge launching you from that? That would be absurd. So it's not that. That's not it at all. But instead, it is a counter hit launcher. So a counter hit low launcher, which that's really good, because the idea is to use it in certain situations to catch your opponent off guard, to catch him pressing a button, or in some cases to, because he does kind of go low to the ground, right, to kind of hit them while they're pressing a button to get a counter hit. Now, the benefits of down back 4 are the range, not there because it's whiffing. Maybe it's just Noctis's feet or what, but that's some decent range, right? That's some actually really decent range. So in neutral, you can do that. He sort of takes a step forward. You see what I mean? It's a little bit too far. He takes a tiny step forward and he goes for your leg, right? And why is that whiffing on Noctis? The heck? That is so bizarre. That you see how the way it's going through him. But anyway, so you want it to hit from about, I guess, this range. Like that's perfect tip range. That is perfect tip range. Yeah, you want it to hit from that far, and that gives you just a basic hit for 17 damage, and on counter hit, it is 20, and you get a launcher. You get a full combo. So the typical combo path. It depends. I guess I should mention that like his combo paths are fairly determined by your distance from your opponent. Luckily now they've made it so that even counter hit from full tip range you still get a full combo. It used to be if you hit the counter hit at max range you wouldn't get anything, which is annoying. But now even from tip range you still get a combo. You get that. So that's a typical season 3 down back 4 combo. Now to optimize it, let's just go for the maximum damage. That's like tip range. The maximum damage up close is this. Counter hit down back 4, full crouch down 4-2, down back 2-1. That was not a combo. Did it too slow? Full crouch down 4-2, down back 2-1, down 4-2-1, down 1, back 3, send 1. That is the maximum damage you can get up close with a counter hit down back 4. 68 damage is a lot. That's really good, right? But from tip range, where you probably won't be able to get the full crouch down 4-2 from tip range, you get while standing 2, down back 2-1, down 4-2-1, then 1, back 3, send 1, right? 64. So that's still really good. That's 4 less damage, but that's still really good. And let's say you're not confident with the range of full crouch down 4-2 when you're getting up, right? But fair enough. You can honestly just always do, like there's no reason not to do this. This combo does everything, right? Without having to do the dash, because it used to be that to get that, you have to do that, dash really far and get down forward 1, and you see how hard that is. You have to dash like really far and get down forward 1, which was not ideal. It was kind of tricky to get, so even I'm struggling to get it. See what I mean? So that used to be what you had to do. You had to do this, run all the way up, and I didn't even run that time. That's funny. While standing 2. Right, run all the way up, down forward 1. Whatever, you get the idea. You can practice that in your own time. The point is that you don't need to do that now. It's easier. You can just do that. So down back 4 is good in that sense. Its downside is that it is very launch punishable, and I mean like hell sweep launch punishable. As in every character can get a delayed hop kick punish on his down back 4. They can get their strongest while standing launcher, or their strongest standing launcher. It's that bad they can actually do a crouch cancel into like a launching combo. So it's actually pretty gnarly. I'm not gonna lie, it's actually pretty bad. So that's its major weakness. It's a bit like Eliza's in that sense. It's a bit like Eliza's down back 4. That's another character who's got a down back 4. Well, I don't think her input is down back 4, but she's got another sort of fake snake edge that doesn't counter hit launch, and you get a nasty, nasty punish if they block it. So that's another character like that. So down back 4, there's 2 ways to use it really. You can just use it from tip range as a poke, a nice sort of long range low poke, which tricky to get the range. That would hit most characters. Something about Noctis' feet isn't quite hitting him. His hitbox seems to be in the middle of his legs, not his actual foot. So you can use it from a nice decent range to kind of go underneath him and evade it. I wouldn't get too cute with it because you become predictable, but it's one of those moves that if you're not used to seeing, it's hard to block, and honestly some people just don't block it. Like it's slow, right? It is quite slow, but you'd be surprised the amount of people that get hit by it. So I would say it's actually really, really solid. Hold on, let me update my notes real fast. Because I just remembered another low. So that's down back 4. And up close, I mean, if you want to really sort of... You can be the sort of person to be in someone's face and pressing buttons and then just do it from there. Whoa! Auto block kicked in. You see how minus that was? Like, look how minus that is. Well, we don't got the frame data or anything yet, but let me show you the recovery animation to give you an idea of just how bad it is. Do you see how long he was blue for? That's how bad the recovery of down back 4 is. You're at such disadvantage, it's crazy. So that's the one thing to be aware of. Let me turn that off because I find it a bit distracting unless you're using specifically for recovery. So you can just sort of use it up close when you're fighting and then just go underneath their move. I think I tend to use it if I suspect my opponent is attempting to press a button. Like, basically, if you suspect your opponent presses a button in it's a situation when they're up close, then down back 4 is sort of like the big gamble that I know you're going to do it, I'm going to get a big launch. So you're up here, you're fighting up close, and then you just go for it, full countdown 4-2, etc., right? And you really make him pay for it with 68 damage. That's pretty gnarly, not going to lie. That's down back 4. I would say down back 4 is your go-to low poke in basically every situation, honestly, as long as you're willing to do it. I mean, it's highly launch punishable, but it's just the kind of thing you want to go for. Fair enough, it's not a standing low that's really powerful and really quick and very devastating, fair enough, but it is just very, very good. On hit, it's very useful because it's actually got a decent amount of advantage. So on hit, that's when you can do full crouch down 4-2, because that's obviously the new thing. Because you had enough advantage to do that, or while standing 2-1. And the while standing 2-1, you have the added mix-up of, do I just do while standing 2, which is safe, or do while standing 2-1 for the knockdown, or while standing 2-1, which would, let me take off guard all just so I can sort of show you what I mean. Which leaves me plus, and then I can do another move, right? So after while standing 2-1, I am at advantage, so I can do something. So that sort of series gives you an idea. And if you mix up between, let's say you do that instead, so you do while standing 2 down, which puts you into dynamic entry. The amount of people that would, trust me, this is the one thing people fall for with Lars. You do down back 4, while standing 2 down, right, to do his little twirly backwards thing. And then if people press a button or try to advance, just 1+2 them and get the launcher. Like, that's one of the best baits you can do. Like, that whole series right there, go low, while standing 2 down, 1+2. If you see them press a button and try to walk forward, like, trust me, just practice that against people, like that specific little sequence, and you'd be surprised the amount of people that get hit. So I think that's my word of advice regarding that. So I think that series is very, very good, honestly. So on hit, it's just as useful, even if it's not counter hit. So on regular hit, you still get to do mix-ups, right? Or just while standing 2 on its own. That's while standing 1. I mean, if you really want to go for big risks, sure, you can do that. While standing 2-1 and into whatever frame trap fits your fancy. Or just do, while standing 2. And just do nothing, because you are plus, so you're fine. Or while standing 4, if you just want to sort of end your turn, so to speak. Now, that is down back 4. That is his quintessential low poke. Not very fast, but has really decent range, and is a counter hit launcher, and is plus, so it gives you mix-ups afterwards. Now, his other go-to low, and I say low with quotation marks, is down back 1, or specifically down back 1-3. Now, this move is interesting because it's a low high, but it's actually a natural combo. Now, let me show you something. So I set him to guard all, right? So you know he's going to block a hit that's not natural. Look at this. That's a natural hit. That's a natural hit combo. Down back 1-3 will always hit no matter what. As long as you commit to the down back 1-3, it will always work. And that's 19 damage. That's really good. That's a damage of like a powerful low from another character. The issue is it's a low high. So if the first hit gets blocked, they can actually get a full launch punish on you, which is a shame. Down back 1 on its own is a little, it's a weird little move, right? Because he's like crouching and sort of poking your knee, right? This move on its own is only -12. That is to say, it's only punishable by like a while standing 4. So if I do that, all you can do is that. So it's not that bad of a low, right? But it's up to you. Do you want to commit to the full thing? Or do you want to just do the safer low that is less punishable? It's up to you. Personally, this is me personally, it depends on the circumstance. Sometimes I just want to do the quick poke and back off. That's it. Quick poke, back off. It's got a bit of range too, see, alright? Quick poke, back off. That's it. Done. Oh, but most of the time, personally, you don't have to do this. Most of the time, I commit to the full thing. Because I would rather have the complete damage of the down back 1-3 than sort of just do the quick little poke and just sort of move on. You know what I mean? Very rarely would people be. I mean, if somebody's ready to duck your move, they're probably going to be ducking anyway. So they're expecting a big low. That's why if they ducked it down back 1-3, you're vulnerable. And I accidentally snuck in what I was going to do next. So that little move I just did, that's down back 1-3 down. So if you do down back 1-3, then hold down, he does a spin, which puts him into crouch. So I should mention this, you're not at advantage when you do this. When you do this, you're not at advantage at all. This is just a mix-up attempt, because what it gives you is the opportunity to do crouching moves. So that spin of his puts you in crouching. So the next button that comes out, it's a low, right? It's going to be, well, not a low, it's going to be a crouching move. So do down back 1-3 down, or down back 1-3 down. You get while standing 2. While standing 1, or while standing 2 down. Keep in mind, and I just said this you're not at advantage. Down back 1-3 does not have enough advantage for you to get a real mix-up. This is just for one of those situations where your opponent doesn't know what you're doing. Because let's be honest, if someone hasn't seen that little musical number before, they're not going to know what to do, and they don't know how advantage or disadvantage you have. So keep that in mind. This isn't like a real super crazy mix-up. It honestly is just a thing that you can do, so keep that in mind. Similarly, you can get that same thing by doing 3. So 3 down or down back, it's actually the same thing, because it's the same animation. You see what I mean? Down back 1-3 down, or 3 down, same thing. And also, just like down back 1-3, you don't have enough advantage to get any meaningful mix-up, so I wouldn't go pretending like this is like a real mix-up or anything like that, because it's not. So as I said, with down back 1-3, it's got a fairly decent amount of range. It's a natural combo, right? But it being a low high makes a big risk. But at the same time, if the 1-3 connects, you get your little spin, and you can do crouching moves because he's in a crouching state, right? That's the thing, right? That's what's useful about that. It's a bit weird. It's a bit of a weird one, but it's sort of like this is why Lance. Whoa. Lance Base, I just gave him a new name. Lars is a stance character. I just called him Lance. That's funny. Henceforth, he shall be known as Lance. So Lars is a stance character, and he's got, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I would do with that. And like I said, is it up to you? Do you want to just do down back 1, get the quick little 9 damage and move on, or go for the 19, but be at less advantage and also risk them crouching it and launching you? And obviously, if you do this and they're crouching, if you do the full spin and they're crouching, you'll just get launched anyway. So keep that in mind. I guess you're sensing a theme here. Down back 4 is good and has all this utility, but you can get a big launch for it, right? Down back 1-3 is cool because it's a natural combo, but because it's a low high, if they duck the first hit, then you get a big launch. Fair enough, but you have to look at it this way, that his utility comes from its properties. This has a decent amount of range and leaves you at advantage. This one is a natural hitting, low high, which gives him a stance afterwards, which in and of itself gives you mix-ups, right? That's the idea. So even though it's not like a just powerful low that you can just throw out, it's more about setting up situations. Other characters' lows are about flat damage and pressuring you into making a mistake. Lars's lows are more about setting up situations, which that's kind of the idea. Now I'll quickly cover his 2 sort of more generic lows, and that's sort of down 4. Now, down 4 is pretty unremarkable. It's just a typical down 4. It's a typical low poke that you do just as a poke, just in neutral, just when you're playing and you just want to tap him on the leg. 7 damage, relatively fast. Nothing remarkable about it. There's nothing really to talk about other than it's a move to do. It's not a Mishima stature kick. It's not a hatchet kick from Brian. It's really just a generic down 4 that leaves you at minus on both block and hit. So not much to say about that. You know what I mean? You've also got full crouch down 4, which is 10 damage, but this is also quite unsafe. And I'd say the one thing I would say about full crouch down 4 compared to regular down 4 is that full crouch down 4, while I wouldn't advise it, it's one of those things is good to use, let's say, towards the end of a round when someone's, like, say, pressing a lot of highs in your face or is really mashing, trying to kill you, and you just sort of duck them and do that, because he stays crouching when he does it. So full crouch down 4 is one of those well, I guess you're just gonna keep pressing buttons, so let me just hit you in the shins. I'm out. You know what I mean? That's full crouch down 4. So regular down 4 is just a normal low poke, not much to it. Full crouch down 4 I would use depending on the situation. If someone likes abusing buttons, and you would just crouch and just go underneath it and do that, because that's the best thing. Which, by the way, leads on to his other full crouch down forward move, which arguably more useful, and that is full crouch down forward 1+2. That's a mouthful. So full crouch, as in fully crouching, down forward, so not down, down forward 1+2. Now that's a little, that, as people like to call it, the shoe shine. It's more like the shin shine. He's actually shining your shin, but the shoe shine move, right? That move is really cool, right? It looks really cool, like the double hand slap. Now, what's good about this move is that, man, full crouch animation is pretty funny, is that 24 damage, right? Doesn't give you really much advantage, like, at all, but it is part of two things. One, because it's a full crouch move, it means you have full crouch mix-ups. And the second is that it's actually pretty safe. It's not launch punishable, it's only about -12, so you're actually fine. If you do full crouch down forward 2, that's 24 damage low, and you're basically pretty safe. You can't get launched, which is nice. Now, obviously you're in full crouch, so you can get launched if they do a launch, if they do like a down forward 2 while you're crouching, fair enough. That's the risk of it. It used to be that all you could do is full crouch down forward 2, or mix it up with full crouch while standing 2. So your while standing mix up was effectively his just normal standing moves. But now you've got his other move, which isn't a low, but his other new move, full crouch down forward 2, which is safe, a safe 19 damage counter hit launching mid. Tag 2, baby, right? We're back in it. So full crouch down forward 2 is now part of a bigger meta, because you can scare them, right? Because it's like he's crouching, is he going to do that, or is he going to do that? You eat the low, that's 24 damage, that hurts, but you're fine. Even on counter hit, it doesn't do anything. 26 damage, that's not bad at all. On counter hit, you're not losing much for it. So it's actually better just taking the hit, or low parrying it if you can, because you don't get that good of a punish. But if you press a button while he's crouching, and now you get down full crouch down forward 2, and I get a combo. So it's like now the full crouch mix up is actually pretty scary. Add to that, of course, while standing 2 down, and now you have multiple options. So once Lars is crouching, what's he gonna do? Full crouch down forward 2, while standing 2, full crouch down forward 1+2, or even full crouch down 4. So the mix up has layers to it. You see what I mean? Not only is this a good low, it's one of those things that like you can kind of set up. So, for example, I showed you before, down back 1-3, full crouch down forward 1+2, right? So down back 1-3, right? That's like a little sequence people like to do. And certain moves leave Lars in crouching also. So the best way to demonstrate this is, actually no, I think I can get it to stand. This should work if I do it like this. So that move, which is forward 3, or dynamic entry, Den, as we like to call it. Den 1+2. So Den 1+2 actually leaves him crouching. So notice how when I got the screw, I did while standing 2 because I am in crouching state. So if you do that on block, it leaves you crouching. So you do full crouch down forward 1+2. Keep in mind this is risky, because that is actually not safe. It's relatively safe because it's a high. It's only -11, and with pushback, most characters can't punish it, but going for that mix-up, that's more of just a risky mix-up. That's not like a real thing, and it becomes predictable if you do it too much, so I definitely wouldn't rely on it. Like full crouch down forward 1+2, in that situation, maybe not. Similarly, doing after down back 1-3, once again, a bit risky. It's up to you. Do you want to do it? I don't know. That's up to you. So that's kind of the way to use it. But the newest way to implement this mix-up game is with the new down 2. So down 2 used to be just down 2, and then you get like a frame trap if it hits, or if it knocks down, you get, you know, you get a stomp, or not guaranteed. Well, you get a stomp if they back roll. There you go. Well, if they stay down, or you just get another down 2, right? But now in Season 3, you have down 2 down, which leaves him in crouching. So it's a bit like Law in that sense. Down 2, he's standing. Down 2 down, he's crouching. So once again, down 2 nothing, he's standing. Down 2 down, he's crouching. So down 2 down on hit, you're +5. So down 2 down, you can do, that was one down 4-2. Full crouch down 4-2, down 2 down, full crouch 1 plus 2. So with that, you now have a situation where you can force the mix up. Right, obviously on block, maybe not, because that's only 0, so you're not at enough advantage to force that mix up. But on hit, you can. So on hit, I mean, you're not plus enough to get the full thing, but it's one of those things where you can threaten with it. So down 2 down, full crouch down 4-2, down forward 1 plus 2, or down 2 down, full crouch 2 instead. Full crouch down 4-2. So either use the 1 plus 2 for the low, right, or the down 4-2 for the mid counter hit launcher. It's really up to you, right? How much you want to do, but make sure you don't force these situations. Like with anything, a mix-up is a risk. You're taking a risk to try and create an advantage. It's not a guarantee, and it's not the kind of thing that you can just do willy-nilly. It's 100% up to you how you want to use it. Okay, so the next move I want to show you is 1-4. Now 1-4 is a bit of a weird one. Let me take him off guard all for a second. This is Legionnaire Spin. So he's got two different options. So 1-1-1, and this isn't a natural combo anymore. Obviously, Noctis isn't blocking naturally. So 1-1-1, that's his new knockdown string. That used to just make them crumple. It basically used to have the same effect of that. So that, you see that animation where he's like, he's got his, I'm not doing well standing 2-1. You see how he's got his head in his knees, basically. 1-1-1 used to do that, but now it knocks down instead. So 1-1 is high mid, and that used to be natural, now it's not, right? But 1-4 is a low. So on counter hit, that's a natural combo. On counter hit, as we know, 1-1-1, that's natural, right? Look again, right? Obviously that's normal hit. Counter hit, it's natural. You see what I mean? Now that's mid. That's high mid. 1-4 is high low. Now the damage, this is one of those really strange moves because as far as damage goes, that's 17, and that's not a natural combo. As you saw, you can block that. Now it's a bit of a weird one in the sense that this is one of those sort of mix-ups where you can just sort of throw it in there if and when you want to. Sneak it in there, basically, because it's a bit hard to react to unless you're looking for it. Unless your opponent literally is just ducking the entire time because it's a high-low. It's one of those really weird things that you can do in neutral. So let's say you're playing neutral, you're doing your 2-1s, right? You're doing your 1-2s, right? 1-2, you're backing off. You're doing your down forward 1. Then you can just sneak that in. And that's like a weird thing where they're like, wait, that's a high-low? Okay. I guess I can be looking for it now. So you can then do 1-1, because if they start to duck, the mid's gonna get them. So the purpose of this low, like his other lows, is to force a mix-up, is to get into your opponent's head, or not, depending who you're playing. I mean, you play online, people don't respect anything, they don't fall for mix-ups, they don't ever learn. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that your opponent has a shred of intelligence, that you do 1-4, and then they're like, okay, that's a high-low, I didn't know you had that. Okay, maybe I should duck next time. 1-1, right? And then you sort of put into their head, am I going to do 1-1? Am I going to do 1-4? Am I going to do 1-2? Or am I going to do 1-1-1? Because keep in mind, if they're ducking, right, they are going to hit, they're going to eat the second and third hit. And they're just going to knock them down. So, you know what I mean? That's one of those things. So 1-4... it doesn't really have much utility other than that. You can do sort of weird gimmicky stuff like this where you can press it from a distance and sort of catch them unawares. It's one of those sort of really silly things you can do where, I mean, it's got a decent amount of range, right? You can sort of press 1-4 from that far and sort of catch them slipping, so to speak. So that is effectively one of those sort of really silly lows that you can do because you can get a mix-up with it. But as I'm sure you noticed, the theme with all of Lars's lows, very launch punishable, because it's a high low. If your opponent's ducking the entire time and they know it's coming, they will launch you pretty badly. But that's why you got to be smart with it. Intersperse it with other things. It's not the kind of thing you just throw out on its own. Now, on to not the big one in the sense of like it's his best or biggest one. I mean, I'd still argue that down back 4 and down back 1-3, those are the quintessential ones to go for. But the one that you're probably wondering about, the one that is the one that is by far the most interesting in this character's arsenal, is what's his Hell Sweep, So Hell Sweeps, as we know them, are Mishima moves, or Bob or Kuma or whatever, which is typically, not always, but typically a low move that's really fast, so fast that you can't physically, visually react to it, that doesn't do much damage, but launches you. Kazuya's one knocks you down, right? Bob's one knocks you down. But Jin's one and Devil Jin's one, it's not too much damage, but it gets a combo. And that's what makes him frustrating. It's very quick, and he gets a combo. If you block it, you get a pretty decent punish, but not a huge one. On Jin, you get a much bigger punish, right? The idea is, the more utility it has, the more unsafe it is. So Jin's, when he gets a combo, you block it, you get a big punish, right? Same with a Paul Demo Man. Paul does a Demo Man, you block it, big punish, right? Because Demo Man's really fast, it wall splats, and it's like a combo ender, it has a lot of utility. Whereas Kazuya, Heihachi, they're ones you only get like a basic launching punish. Lars's one suffers from both weaknesses. It's both very slow and very launch punishable. So you're thinking, what's the point? Let me show you something. So forward, 4-3. Now, let me show you this. It is natural, right? Right? To demonstrate, 1-1, right? That's a natural combo, 34 damage. It doesn't knock down, right? Doesn't knock down. You don't get a combo from it. It just leaves him standing. And it used to be, it was 0 on hit. That is to say, neither player's at advantage. You are neutral, right? Now it's +3. Thank goodness. So, the best you can do is do like a 2-1, or contest with a down forward 1. Right after that, because you're at enough advantage to do a 2-1, or just back off, or let your opponent make a mistake. Now, where to use this move? That's a good question. Like all Hell Sweeps in the game, it's a risk. You're risking a lot on a powerful low. As I'm sure you just saw, forward 4-3 is his most damaging low by far. 34 damage. If you hit someone with enough of these, they will die. Look how much damage that's doing to the health bar. If I do a handful more of those, you're just going to be dying slowly. So that's why it's so devastating. Because unlike the other Hell Sweeps, the first hit does a lot of damage on its own, right? 14. So both hits together, 34, that's a lot of damage. That's why it's really powerful. And because it leaves them standing as opposed to knocking them down, it allows you to mix up, right? And so that's the idea. But it being slow is a disadvantage. It being very launch punishable is a disadvantage. So it's not the kind of thing you want to throw out. That said, in Season 2, they gave you the option to do it from dynamic entry. So from Den, which is 4-3, you can do 4-3. Now, I'm sure it sort of looks interesting, but it's harder to see that. It's a bit more obvious from the dash, right? But not as obvious from the special dash, from dynamic entry. So one of the things that you can do with this is you can force a fairly basic mix-up. Because he's got multiple dashing moves, right? He's got, obviously, that, but he's got 4-4-3, right? Which is his sort of normal knockdown mid-kick. But he's also got 4-4-2, which is a mid-launcher. Very, very slow. Not as good as the other Mishima 4-4-2s, because it's actually, it keeps you close, and it's actually -12, so it's actually not that great. And also, if I'm completely honest with you, the range isn't particularly remarkable. I mean, look at that. The range isn't particularly remarkable either. So that's why you almost never see it. So the trick with forward 4-3 is that you can sort of force someone into maybe fearing it, because eat enough of that and you're gonna die. So let's just say in a certain situation, it's like, I've done this, I've done that, and I go for that. So your opponent's conditioned, okay, he's done this, he's done that, he's gonna go for that. What if you do this, that, and then you do that instead? Now, if they are just committing to a duck, yeah, they're getting hit by that. Better players will be able to sort of fuzzy duck it and kind of predict it, but for the most part, if you've been hitting your opponent with a lot of that, and you've really put into the head that you're always going to do that, they're going to eat that. And that's kind of the trick behind this move. Once again, same theme as the rest of his lows. Very, very unsafe. A little bit on the slow side, but forcing big mix-ups, right? On counter hit, you don't get a combo. And it only does 36 damage. Not very remarkable. But, once again, it's the damage alone is pretty devastating, right? And also the fact that you can do it from that is really good. Now let me show you something that I like to do personally. And this is one of my favorite things to do. He should be doing quick get up, so let me actually quickly see something. Okay, so quick get up backwards. I'm not sure if that's the ender I want. Let me just do a basic combo. Okay, so he's doing quick recovery. I think I want him to do back roll, maybe? There we go. Okay, so if your opponent does that, or if your opponent just stands up, a mix-up that I find really solid is if you do a combo. This is obviously a basic combo for the sake of demonstration. This isn't like a real combo, but and you end with silent entry 3, right? That's not silent entry 3. If you end with silent entry 3, the kick, it leaves you with enough time to do this. So just for the sake of argument, this is a demonstration combo. Auto block kicked in. That's funny. That's pretty funny. But you saw the idea, right? You saw the idea. So if your opponent isn't, look at that. If your opponent doesn't wake up blocking low, they're gonna eat that, because they're gonna get up from your combo and think, okay, your combo's over. But they're gonna eat that. If they stand straight up, they're just gonna eat it. They have to be blocking low from the ground to avoid that, right? That said, if your opponent once again becomes used to you doing that, you can mix them up. You can do Den 2 instead. Dynamic entry 1 plus dynamic entry 2 instead. So you can do that. So on wake up you can do that, or you can do that. And if they press a button, obviously that will counter hit them. I'll counter hit launch them. Do you see what I mean? So that's one of the situations where forward 4-3 is good, because it's a pretty good knockdown move. In fact, it's one of those good things to use if you knock them down, because then that's like a mix-up. You see what I mean? So, while not like traditional Hell Sweeps in that it's very fast, nigh unreactable, and has a combo or some other utility, his one is about doing a fairly solid amount of damage, and then literally forcing a mix-up into their head of what's coming next. And then the classic scenario we've all been in a billion times: is he gonna do it again? I've done it once. I've done it twice. Am I gonna do it again? Yes, I am. You see what I mean? I've done it once. I've done it twice. Am I gonna do it again? Nope. Right? That's the idea. 4-4-4-3 is to force them, because I mean, really, think about that for a second. Let me show you the damage of a 4-4-2 combo. Right? This is like a typical 4-4-2 combo that I would use. Ouch. 67 damage. Ouch, right? Now, is it worth it to eat that when you can just eat that? That's, well, basically half the damage. But I'm not knocked down. I didn't get comboed, right? I didn't lose position. With a wall, that combo's going to hurt even more. So, do I want to risk ducking that and eat this instead? As the opponent, you have to think, how good are my reactions to block that last minute? Because if I duck, I have to commit to duck this. Right? But do I know? Am I sure? And you have to put that thought into your opponent's head. Am I sure I can be ready to just duck this or stand up quick enough to block this, right? That's the idea. Because with that move in particular, it's very, very scary for that reason. Also, because it's got some forward momentum, from about, I'd say this far, nope, that's way too far. From about there, look, you get them, right? From about this far, just like a lot of other Lars's lows, it's got a lot of range. So from that far, he advances and he hits you with it. keep in mind that even the second, a lot like other hell sweeps, if you miss the first hit and the second hit gets blocked, you're gonna get launched. So keep that in mind. That is unfortunately another weakness of this character and his another weakness of his lows, I should say. So that is basically brass tacks to do with that, unfortunately. Not the end of the world, like by any stretch of the imagination, but that's typically the idea. Now, I should also mention that forward forward 4 on its own, that's a pretty slow low, right? That's not the kind of low you want to be doing anything with meaningfully, right? But it's not without its merit. Now, while it looks pretty silly, you're actually at a lot of advantage. That's actually +5 on hit. On hit, the first hit's +5. So what that means is you can get that. What means you can do that? What it means is you can do that. So if let's say you don't want to commit to both hits and you get the flat damage, you can just do the first hit and be in enough advantage to do something. Because think of it this way: if they didn't block the first hit, right? You can just you can't hit confirm it. It's not hit confirmable. You can't just do the first move and then do the second one if you see it hit. You really have to just commit to it. Like, I'm trying to visually confirm I'm doing it, but it's not working. You have to just dial it in. Just dial it in. There's no science to it. Just dial it in. But if you want to only do the first hit alone, you have enough advantage to do a mix-up. So, another benefit of it is, despite being very slow, the forward momentum carries you pretty far, and you're at enough advantage to get a mix-up afterwards. So, do you want the flat damage to sort of scare them into thinking, okay, I don't want to eat another one of that, because that hurt. And also, because it's such a big risk, like any other hell sweep, at the end of the round, you know, when it's really close, right? Doing that's devastating, because if you ate that and you're dead, because this is a natural hit. One of the things I like to do personally is, and this depends on the situation, is doing it after rage, because it's now part of dynamic entry. Why is he, is he on guard all? Guard all for the first hit. Yeah, because he's on rage, right? You can get it after dynamic entry. So obviously I just did down forward 3 down. Down forward 3 down puts me into Dan stance, dynamic entry stance. So I can get the 4-3 afterwards. So what that means is you can do it after rage drive. And that is a pretty viable mix-up. So in Rage Drive, one of the things I like to do and other Lars like to do is, depending on your opponent's sort of knowledge and readiness, you can do, if they block the Rage Drive, right? I mean, and Rage Drive, I think, warrants an entire episode on its own. Maybe I'll make that the next episode of Lars Lab. Yeah, maybe I might. I mean, there's a lot more to cover. I think covering Rage Drive definitely deserves its own. I've done Rage Drive videos. If you check my channel, of course, that is youtube.com/c/JusticeSoulTuna. If you check my channel, I've done plenty of stuff with Rage Drive, like Rage Drive Wall Carry, Rage Drive, you know, on its own. So I might do a Lars Lab for that. But anyway, when you're getting sort of close to the end of the round, right, and you know your health is down, you're in Rage health, you can do Rage Drive into 2+3 to get the throw, right? Or if your opponent's used to that, you can do that instead, because your opponent might be ready to tech the throw. Oops, I actually hit him. And that's good. That's a big risk. And you might be thinking, wait, that's either a high throw or a low. That's not a real mix-up. Entirely fair. But remember, you got Den too. So if they duck, similarly, if they press anything, oops. If they press anything, whoa, he's getting hit by everything. If they press everything, Den 2 will counter hit them. I'll cover this more in depth in the Rage Drive live stream, so you don't have to worry about that for now. The point is that you can force a mix-up sort of at the end of the round. So if your opponent isn't aware that you can do it from that stance, you can do it after Rage Drive to really sort of mess with them. And typically, depending on, you know, what they're up to, this might actually be a very good option. So that is 100% up to you. But obviously, don't get too predictable with it, because your opponent will start to see through it. So that's another scenario where you can use that. Now the final move is down 3-1. Now this move is very I mean, like all his other lows, it's another low high, right? So just like down back 1-3, down 1-3. Sorry, down 3-1. So down back 1-3 is that, but down 3. So down 3, it's a standing low. It's not that good. The range is terrible. It's kind of slow, and also the follow-up is a high. So if you're just ducking, you can just launch it, right? In fact, you can actually, it's not a natural combo. So, to make matters worse, let me set him to stand and guard all. To make matters worse, you can just duck that. And if you crouch, well, you know. But it is a natural hit on counter hit. So if they press a button, all 3 hits will get him, which is cool. Now, this move's a bit weird, and I think this move probably deserves its own live stream entirely, or there's an own video dedicated to it. But it doesn't have too many uses other than kind of like as a nice little surprise mix-up. Because it's actually pretty good when they're knocked down, because you can catch them standing up. Its real utility lies in the following. Now, let me take you on a quick journey to the wall. Now, with the wall, I'm going to show you what it is about this move that's so funny, let's say. You're going to see something very fascinating. So, on the surface, it seems like a very absurd move. Like, what's the point of ever using that other than these rare counter-hit scenarios? Good point, good question. But there are some very specific little circumstances where this move is actually pretty relevant. And I'm about to show you what I mean in a second. So we load into home court advantage, of course, Twilight Conflict for Lars. This is going to be very interesting. So let me show you this. Now, I'm going to knock him down. Now watch this. Did you see that? I'll show you again. Did you see that? That move in the corner picks them up. It literally picks them up. The move, by the way, the move is called Tesla Gravity. That's the name of the move. That's no joke. All his moves are lightning based. That move's called Tesla Gravity, and at the wall, it hits. The whole thing hits. In fact, that's actually a real combo. After Arc Blast in the corner. Similarly, it's actually a combo after this. Oop, don't do that. Is he? Hold on. Right, that's real. You see what I mean? Now, it's very bizarre how it pulls him out of the corner like that, but it's very, very useful. Hey, TK Nibs, thanks for the follow. Thanks for the follow, homie. Thumbs up, thumbs up. So, what's very bizarre about this move is if you do this, I completely forgot the input, right? It just knocks him down. And the thing that most people don't know is that if they stay down, it will keep hitting them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to... I think, how do I force the opponent to stay on the ground? Oh yeah, not set. There we go. So if I just knock him down, he'll stay down, right? If you stay down, you will keep getting hit. So literally, if your opponent doesn't realize and they stay down, they'll just keep getting hit. Right? Over and over. Oh, thanks, TK. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Oh, you're a YouTube viewer. That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the stream. Very much appreciate it. So obviously with these Lars Lab live streams, this is a chance for viewers to ask questions, see anything they want to. So every episode has like a theme, like a thing that I'm going for. This one's about lows, of course. But if you have any questions, anything you want to know, anything you want me to try out, memes, whatever, then let's get it. But yeah, so with down 3-1, if they stay down, they will keep getting hit over and over and over, right? So they have to stand up, right? That is 100% the purpose of that move. In the corner, if they don't get up, they'll just keep getting hit. But this move, and this is gonna look very. I think I showed this way back when in the Lars Lab live stream, the very first one. But the thing about this move that's very peculiar is how it works in mid-screen. Now I'm going to do a sequence. You're probably wondering what you just saw. It's very confusing because it happens really fast, but let me show you again. Oop, that was too slow. Now that... it's kind of Looney Tunes, right? It's kind of wacky, but what's happening is, for some strange reason, the property of down 4-2-1, right? Which is sort of like, it knocks them off balance, and then the 1 screws them, right? It hits them with the tailspin. In that particular instance, if you do dash up, down 3-1, it pulls them to Lars's right. Once it pulls them to Lars's right side, they're getting up on their left. They're not standing up straight. So what that means is they're not able to block because they're not blocking forward. And as we all know, in Tekken, it's not omnidirectional block. You can only block forward. You're hitting them on their side. Do you see what I mean? So what you're doing is you're setting up a unblockable, not a real unblockable like a that. That's a real unblockable. You're setting up a situation where your opponent cannot block your next attack. Does that make sense to you? Let me show you again. Down 4-2-1. Side step left for good measure. Right? It's very bizarre. Right? But you're hitting your opponent in a way that they cannot block. Very, very peculiar. Hold on, let me read the stream chat. Okay. TK Nib says, for sure, I've got to do my own, but I must catch one of these in depth sometime. Have a good one. Alright, thanks for tuning in. I guess they peaced out. You can catch us on YouTube, by the way. The archive's going up on YouTube. Might put this up on Friday or Saturday. So don't worry. If you missed the live stream, it's always going to be on my YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/c/JusticeSoulTuna. That's just going to be there. So don't worry about that if you missed the live stream. So this move, Tesla Gravity, 2 purposes. At the wall, right, as I showed you earlier, right, at the wall, if your opponent doesn't get up, right, or in mid-screen for this very, very odd and disturbing setup. Right, very weird, but very useful, and very gimmicky, because, look, I'm going to be honest with you, everyone who I've hit that with, they don't get hit again. Because if you're doing down 4-2-1, I mean, let's be completely honest. If you're doing down 4-2-1 and you're not like doing an actual combo, right? But instead you're doing this very obvious, people know what's coming. You know what I mean? So it's kind of gimmicky, it's kind of silly. So I wouldn't really rely on it. It's not the kind of thing you can get away with multiple times. So, you know, do it once, wow the casuals, or maybe use it to close out. I mean, because to be clear, you do get a full arc blast combo. It's not like this weird off. I mean, it's slightly off axis, but if you do, you actually do get a full arc blast combo. Let me show you. See? I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? I kind of went a complete 180. I went from facing this way to putting them back to the wall. Like, that's kind of wild, right? But that's a real thing. Obviously, that's the kind of thing you'd want to do, like, say, think of a situation where chips are down, you're down to really low health, maybe rage, and you need 2 good mix-ups to win. What if I told you only need one good mix-up to win? Because you catch them with a down 4-2-1, right? But you don't want to finish the combo because you know it's not going to be enough. A down 4-2-1 combo on its own doesn't kill. Doesn't do nearly enough. But you do a down 4-2-1, you run up, you do that little madness with your hands, and then you put them back to the other corner with an arc blast combo, right? That's really kind of powerful. It's a little bit strange. As I said, it's a little bit weird, and once you've seen it once, you're probably not going to get hit by it again, so very, very gimmicky. But it is very, very cool. I mean, look at that. I put him all the way back at the wall. In fact, let me see if I can get the full wall carry with that. I might be able to, actually. You know. That's a little bit too far, but just for the sake of demonstration, let's see if I can get it. Keep in mind, and I'm sure this should be obvious, but I'll just spell it out. Ouch. That's ridiculous. I went forward. I was mid-screen. I hit them with that, and I turned them all the way around and brought them all the way back. Keep in mind, if your opponent stays down or rolls, doesn't work. Your opponent has to back get up or quick get up. That's the only way this works. That's part of what makes it such a problem, because let's say, for the sake of argument, your opponent doesn't do that, and they side roll instead. Oops, let me not do that. It ruins the whole thing. Right? Because they tried to side roll. Because he tried to side roll, setup didn't work, and now that they've seen it, they're like, I don't know what that was. Though to them, it just kind of looked like you dropped a combo and then went for Arc Blast. Doesn't really make much sense, right? So if you do that, I don't know. That people would be like very confused, be like, okay, I don't fully understand what that was meant to be. But if they quick get up, or if they're too slow, then it works. You see what I mean? Very, very gimmicky, but it exists. So down 3-1. Not that fast. Oh, it's actually pretty fast. Actually, the down 3 is pretty fast. And it works on counter hit, and at the wall it picks him up. The sad thing is, and I'm sure you just saw, you can't do that mix up at the wall because they go completely behind Lars. So Lars does turn around too. He doesn't do Arc Blast. So unfortunately, it's harder to set that up at the wall. It takes a very unique setup to set up at the wall, because they have to be at a very specific angle to pull him out and to be able to do Arc Blast from that distance. Doesn't really work the way you think it would, so not the kind of thing you can set up easily. So in review, we hit the hour mark, so I'll now quickly go over everything just real fast. Down back 4, that is your, let me just take them off, follow me. That is your really good mid-range low poke that counter hits and has a decent amount of advantage for you to force mix-ups, right? Down back 1-3, also very good up close, and if you can space it correctly, almost mid-range. Low, high, natural combo that if you want to, if you really want to, you can get a little spin at the end, right? And go into mix-ups afterwards, right? Full crouch, well, down 4 and full crouch down 4 are just your typical low pokes that do an okay amount of damage but are pretty unsafe on block. Full crouch down forward 1+2. That is your go-to full crouch low, because you can now mix it up with full crouch down forward 2, which of course gives you a counter hit launcher, not a normal hit launcher, because that would be absurd. And you can force it by doing down 2. So down 2 down to crouch, down 2 down, full crouch down forward 1+2, full crouch, down 2 down, full crouch down forward 2, right? You get the idea. Now 1-4 is a move you can mix in with your jabs. So your 1-1s, your 1-2s, and your 1-4s. That's like a nice little mix-up to catch people off guard. Or if you're very clever, you can do it from range like that and hit them in the foot. Right? Forward, 4-3. Very, very risky, but very, very devastating, especially mentally, if you can mix it in. The point of a hell sweep, as they're known, is to really put the fear into them, because if they eat too many of those, they'll die, and they have to basically take a big risk. And can they risk crouching against it when he's got a launcher? That's the question. And finally, down 3-1, a rather weird move, but a move that has properties on its own because it knocks down. Right? And did you see that? Wait. It works off Arc Blast too? Oh. See, I didn't know that. I promise you this wasn't planned. So I was literally just going to close out the stream. But I've always done it from down forward 2. I'm sure the Lars Discord knows this. They're probably laughing at me, but like, I've always done it from down forward 2. Down forward 2-1. I didn't think it worked from a standing Arc Blast. In fact, I'm beginning to wonder if it actually does. Hold on. Because that's pretty interesting. I don't think it works the way you want it to. No, I think it do. I think it do. I may have to wait a bit longer though. Because look, it's not quite hitting in the same way the other one is. But it is though. Wow, that's crazy. So it actually works off Arc Blast. That's nuts. That's actually really crazy, right? Would you look at that? It works off of standing arc blast now. Isn't that fascinating? I feel like it always... I don't think it always has, but... the timing is definitely different. That is very fascinating. I wonder if you can do off of side step arc blast, can you? Yes, you can! Oh, but I don't know if it works the same way, though. The angle's messed up. Or is it? Let's find out. Yeah, it's a little messed up. Whatever. The point is that it is a counter hit move, right? It's not a natural combo, but it's a counter hit natural combo. Leaves him standing, doesn't have any real advantage, but will pick them up off the ground. Not in that situation, unfortunately, but apparently you can just do off that if you feel so inclined. Right, that is the quintessential purpose of that move. So those are lows, and this is usually the period of the stream which I would leave up to questions from the stream chat. Doesn't seem to be any questions this time around, which is fair enough. It's entirely fine. You know, the more we sort of go on, hopefully people will tune in and ask questions. And the next time I do this stream, make sure to check to see if I'm streaming, and you can, you know, come in, tune in, and just ask any questions. And sorry, I'm just leaning over to quickly grab something. Just need to deal with some real life stuff. Real life, the realest mix-up, let me tell you. So if you have any questions, you can come to the stream and ask whatever you want. But yeah, that is it for Goin Low. So have fun with lows. So his lows, they may not really work the way other characters do, and they seem very unsafe, and they seem sort of very risky to do, but it's like with everything, it takes a while to sort of learn where to implement them and how they're powerful. It's not entirely obvious just from first glance, but it's the kind of thing that once you get good with and really commit to, it'll shine. It'll give you the dividends and returns that you want. So hopefully you find that useful. Thanks for watching. The VOD is going to be on YouTube as usual. Thanks for tuning in if you did. This is Justice, and I'll see you all next time.